Good evening. This is the March 16th, St. Patrick's Day Eve for some of us, some of you, meeting of the Charter Committee. Tonight we're going to continue with our work on the document. Next week we have a, so let me go through the agenda. We're going to continue to work on the document like we always do. We got public input in minutes. Next week we have a meeting with the Select Board to go over the version of the document that we had from a week or two ago. And so some of tonight is in preparation for that. The first step is Charlotte, who's not here yet, created some amazing summary documents. She used AI to go through the meeting minutes for the last year and then worked her magic and came up with some amazing summary documents of our deliberations to go to the select, I mean, it's for us, but also to go to the Select Board. It gives a lot of background on the document, how we got here, some of the discussions we had, and so on. So I want to review that with the committee to make sure that everybody's okay, because we can make changes to it if we need to before we send it to the Select Board. So that's the first item. And then we've got, I sent out an email today of some of the subcommittee work, the things we had talked about, and so we want to go through those as well. Basically for the same thing, to get the committee's take on them. And then depending on that, we'll also send a summary document to the Select Board so they know what we're working on since the version of the document that they have, what the next steps are, because we're certainly, it's still a work in progress. And public input minutes, if I didn't say that already, probably did. All right, Karen, are you ready for us or not yet?
Just
Yes.
to start.
Okay, Rob?
We've got people from the public. Do you want to flip the order in order to accommodate them? I'm fine doing it at the end, but if they want to be here sooner than later and depart, I don't want them to have to stay till.
We can do that. So what particular topics are you interested in? You're all library, is that it?
We are.
Okay. We can, you want to jump to that? You don't want to hang around? We can do that. That's probably a good idea. So you don't have to listen to us talk about this other stuff. So that,
Make them hang around.
But you're welcome.
you're very welcome. We love to have you. We love having people in our audience. So if we do that, then we're going to jump to the document. I sent the email I sent then Karen first. And so what that has, just so you all know, we have there were several different topics that we're talking about, things, wording we might want to change or things we might want to change in the document. And one of them is yours. I just got to find out which one that is.
So I'm sorry, which one do you want me to open up?
The email.
It's this one.
56B.
That was,
Why is it 56B? Thank you.
got it.
All right, so the reason the library people are here is because we talked about, that had been suggested to us that we discuss or at least consider that the library director is currently set up
I just have
to,
to get to the,
okay, well, we can, go ahead and you keep doing your thing.
Yeah.
So right now, in the charter, the library director is certainly still appointed by the library directors, and there's, I don't think, any intent to change anything there. It was suggested that we ought to at least consider, should the library director, like so many what we're doing across the town is changing it so that the directors are not reporting to their boards, but instead reporting to the town manager. So, and that's just to get some accountability and a lot of other things going.
jeez, hold on, sorry.
So the discussion was, would that make sense for the library? Is there a reason for it to be different than the other ones? And I think we've gone back and forth, and Katrina sent some really good information. And everybody has your email, by the way, send it to everybody here. The two key things for me were that 90+% of the towns still have it reporting to the library director, and the ones that don't, most of them are due to union, it's union kind of things, or there are very larger area and things like that. So, so that's kind of where we are, but I don't know if any people, I want to give everybody a chance to talk if they had an opinion one way or the other, whether we want to pursue this or just leave it as is and move on.
Can I ask LCTV
Yes.
to make me a presenter?
Oh, yeah.
Or a panelist? They could,
Did you-
please?
Did you hear that, Brock? Can you make Karen a presenter? There you go. That was easy.
Thank you.
Right.
So I'll start off. Yeah, I'm for having the library director report and be evaluated annual basis by the Board of Library Trustees. I'm 100% on board and strongly feel that way. So that's my 2 cents. As to, with regard to identifying a lot of the HR policies, et cetera, that starts to move me in the place where if we do it there, we potentially need to do it many other places. I'd rather, if we feel a need to do such things, then let's put that back in general provisions or some other place as opposed to specifically under the segment pertaining to the elected officials being Board of Library Trustees.
So the additional comment Rob was made, one of the discussion points in here was, if the library director continues to report to the board, should we put something in the charter that says, but they should follow the same HR review processes that the rest of the town does? And so Rob is saying, well, there's no reason to say that for the library because we don't say it for anybody else, and so why would we go there? That's so you understand what, that's the further part of that conversation. And I know you're already doing that now.
We're already following it, just to be clear.
No, I know, absolutely. So let me be clear on that, because they are following it now today, absolutely. Getting, input from other stakeholders in town, not just the trustees and all those things. So it's, but of course, we have to look at not only how are things working or not working today, but how should they go in the future, so. Anybody else?
I agree with Rob. It was an excellent email that you sent me. It was very informative, so I don't see any reasons to change that at all. And I got my mini golf thing already over there, so.
We appreciate that.
Okay. Hi, Brock. It's okay, it's good.
I'm in agreement. I'm keeping it how it is, and I just would.
I'm good. Are you comfortable with coming up with a member for the finance committee?
Ooh, we're jumping to a new topic.
Yeah.
We've had a discussion at our last meeting about that, and I think the board, and you guys can correct me if you get a different impression, is in general wanting to make sure we do the best thing for the town if we have an appointment. So wanting to make sure we are up on what the responsibilities are and skills that would be needed. And we're talking about proactively, if we're saying this is fall town meeting, making sure that we get our ducks in a row with policy and how we would go about that process. So we would want to make sure we have a policy and a procedure in place to make sure that appointment is public and transparent and in front of everyone.
Okay. And just so you know, timing-wise, this all happens. So if this goes to fall town meeting, the next steps are, then it goes, pardon?
Is it the legislature after?
Yeah,
that?
so it
Okay.
goes, if it passes our fall town meeting, it has to go to the state legislature, and they don't, and that's after Christmas apparently, because that's what happens, January, February. People are shaking their heads, they know how things work, right? And then, once it gets through that, assuming that passes, then it comes back here for a town-wide ballot vote. So none of this is overnight, things change.
Yeah, and we realize there might be questions on the floor at town meeting that we would
Right.
want, if this was to get to town meeting and we
Mhm.
have an appointment, we would want to make sure that we have discussed and are clear about what our intentions are and our policies would end up being, knowing we have time to develop them. But I think in general, we all had a lot of feedback, but there was some apprehensions from some members of like, this isn't what we do, and anxiety about that. And
Yeah.
I think actually, in my opinion, that's healthy, that we would want to, that's a new thing for us, so we would want to rise to the occasion and do it well, if that's the case. So I think in general, the board was in agreement that we would take it on if asked to.
Okay, great.
Nobody objects.
Nobody objected. There was concerns expressed, and I think legitimate
Mhm.
concerns we would have to work through. But I think it's nothing that would stop us from pursuing it if needed.
I have to say that the way you approach things and the way you come back to it, it just makes me more convinced that you're the right answer to do this one. Because you don't take it lightly, you do things seriously, and we appreciate that, I think, that, speaking of everybody here. Okay, all right, so that's the library. You're welcome to stay as long as you like, but that's all I have on my agenda to talk about library things. Go
Kyle was
ahead.
about to say something.
Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
was just gonna say, I'm in agreement, and I think, I'm glad you brought up the HR thing, because I think there are a lot of these positions where we begin to conflate what's in the charter with HR process that does or does not exist. And that's a completely separate issue that can be solved another way, but I just want to say that, yeah, I'm in support of keeping it as
Okay,
is.
sorry, thank you. Okay.
And I have one more pertaining to the library, and that is in the elected versus appointed officials, Katrina's identified as the chair and I believe your title is treasurer.
I am treasurer.
So I will want that
Oh, okay.
to be
You
changed
noticed that.
as we pass that along.
I didn't catch that. Good, good, Rob. Yep. Okay, excellent.
All right, if you have more questions, let us know.
Oh, we will.
And I'm sure more will come up, so.
And
we'll attend
likewise
next
for us as well,
meeting. Yeah,
for anything. Thank you.
thank you for having
Okay,
us.
thank you. Thank you. Thanks for the agenda update there, Rob, to make that more efficient. Thank you.
Yeah. And I have no idea if Diane's got stuff.
Diane, I assume you're here for general information to hang out? You're not into, okay.
Hang out for a few minutes just to see where we're going.
Okay. Great. Okay, so, back to the documents that Charlotte compiled for us. The deliberation documents.
Which one are we starting with?
Start with Strong Town Manager.
Can I ask one question?
Sure, absolutely.
Really basic. 'Cause some people, like, I don't know, if other people have people approaching them, I now have people approaching me because we're at that point now where things are happening. And one of the things that was mentioned, do we have to say strong town manager? Can we just say town manager? Because some people have the idea that that person's gonna have too much authority. And by saying we have a town manager model, it's a lot easier to take the strong. That's a simple comment that was made to me, so.
I agree with that comment. Because we actually have a pretty strong town administrator now, quite frankly, that going to the town manager model. But some people feel strongly that we want to say strong town manager.
But isn't it a specific thing?
No.
A strong?
So my understanding was that it was, that the difference, there's no fundamental difference between a town administrator and a town manager. Those are interchangeable terms. But nobody typically says a weak
Right.
town manager.
Yeah.
But it is in the terminology, the legal terminology, our town administrator would be considered a weak town administrator just due to the fact that certain department heads do not report to that position. So as soon as the strong versus weak is a designation of responsibility. It's
Still a
saying that the
continuum.
department heads would report to this
Yeah.
person. Now, framing is one thing, but if we said we're going from a town administrator to a town manager, we can do that without actually changing anything about the town manager administrator's roles and responsibilities.
Yep.
So the reason I like the idea of it is what it is. It is what we are doing, is moving from a town administrator not just to a town manager title, but also to a strong town manager type set of responsibilities. So we're changing the title and the set of responsibilities.
Some of them. But
Some.
they still don't, the town manager still does not hire the police chief and the fire chief under this model, under our model.
Right, but I mind,
Okay.
and maybe this is something that Colin Semtic can answer, but if we were to propose all the things that we are proposing with the shift in the department heads, I think that would still, Littleton would be considered to have a strong town manager.
We can ask Anthony.
I don't know if that's just
I
really
don't-
designation at the state level or not, but is Anthony on?
Maybe Anthony can
Oh,
help us
Anthony,
with
you're
that.
here. Awesome. All right, Anthony,
Hi,
gotta,
how are you?
please.
How are you?
Come in and,
So just on the current conversation, and I apologize if I'm going to be a little verbose. I just want to lay this all out. There is a definition for town administrator under state law. Essentially, the definition of town administrator is essentially a secretary for the select board, an executive secretary. So a position without really any power other than things that it's doing on behalf of the select board. As time has progressed, communities have given their town administrators more authority, and in some cases have used the term or really created the position of town manager to vest more authority in a centralized figure, an administrative figure in town government. In the current environment, there are some town managers who have less authority than some town administrators. So when we say that there isn't much distinction between the terms, because it has evolved over time, different communities wanting, for optics, for the acceptance of the community, to use one term or the other, while still granting many of the authorities to a town administrator or a town manager, depending on whatever title was used. Now, where are you in your in which you put together currently in the draft charter. You've put many more positions under the direct administrative control and appointment authority of the town. I think you're calling it the town manager.
Yes.
Than there had been, but you haven't moved up. The position is not as strong as it could be in other communities, regardless of whether they call it a town manager or town administrator. So I would say you're probably maybe it's a spectrum, and you're probably closer to the quote unquote strong town manager model, but you're not sort of fully up the ladder. So I'd say you're closer to the middle, but have a fairly authoritative town manager is where I would put the current draft charter.
Okay, thank you.
So then it could be appropriate to strike strong from our communication materials because we're kind of in
Was he
the middle.
No, I'm not kidding.
Dictator
We
town
should say
manager.
authoritarian.
Authoritarian. I mean, that clarifies it for me that it isn't a threshold at which you are either definitely strong or definitely not strong, but if that's the case,
So I view these documents and I agree, they're really well done, as being for the select board discussions.
Yep.
And they're very familiar with what we're talking about and will be even further. The town, I'm not so sure.
Right.
So to me, it's all the context and who's the audience. And so while I'm very much for these documents, as we move, or as the select board moves into what they're preparing for written dissemination, I think that terminology should be revisited because it needs to be placed in the context. We can't just assume that everybody understands MOUs and the changes that we've already discussed tonight. So I just want to point that out. The other things I'll say is that in the government structure review, it's identified as town manager. In our charge document, it's identified as town manager model. So the word strong did not exist in either of those. They're kind of our kicking off documents, et cetera. So I'd be fine, given, what I've just said and all you
Okay.
folks are talking.
I guess for this point, it's a matter of, do we want to save for the one that goes to the select board? It's not as important as when we go forward elsewhere, but, so what, is there a consensus? You want to take it off or leave it on? You take it out.
I think consistency would be nice. So if we're going to take it out, then I think we take it out.
Okay, let's take it out.
Fine.
I see at least 3 other places where the word is used.
Yeah, I can go through
Yep.
and delete it wherever it is. Yeah.
Okay,
So for
thank you.
consistency's sake, then we should also standardize on town manager model and stop going back and forth between town manager and town administrator.
I agree with that, too.
Yep,
Yep.
So I think the one that I have concern about, and it's said slightly differently, pertains to the police chief. So the police chief is identified as a few times and as supporting the model, and I agree with that. But there's one instance in which it's noted the preference to under the second
bullets.
page.
Yep.
It says, but both express their preference to be reporting to the select board. So I find myself concerned that people reading this, I recognize it's the select board, but I still find myself concerned to have multiple phrasing saying they support it, which they do. I went back and read the minutes, they do from an operational efficiency, but they also, Police Chief Bernard directly stated his preference with regard to reporting to so I think it's captured there. So somehow I think the same sort of tonal reflection with regard to their perspective with regard to their reporting relationship is at least worthy of consideration here tonight in the document.
I had the same question when I went through it, and I thought, but then I realized later you say that, so I said technically it's all okay, we're going to the select board, but if we decide to post this on the website as part of our implementation, then,
I think, yeah,
It
you'd made that
can be.
suggestion that I included that,
Oh, I'm
little bit in there, I think, because I'd
Okay, so-
originally,
so I'm sorry, so what,
I think I'd originally just said they supported the arrangement. And then I think you'd mentioned it would be helpful to add that there was a preference.
but you had already done that, right, in the bullets? Did you change the boxes up above? Or was that?
No, I think the boxes just stayed the same.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it's in the box.
Right.
And it's also in the last paragraph of page 1,
yeah.
4th bullet. Then as you're looking at the other part that I noted, because I went back to the minutes, was when the select board members were here, both Gary and Chuck, two select board members specifically stated their preference to have the chiefs report to the select board. I don't think that exists in this document. Now, we're sending it to them so they can stand up and state what they want, but I think for me, it's been somewhat of a important element as we've discussed and made our recommendation to recognize that despite 2 of the 5 select board members expressing a strong desire to report to the select board, that we've chosen to recommend reporting to the town manager.
Did they actually say that at the
It's in
meeting,
our-
though?
It's in our minutes.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay.
I can
The
give
police
you,
chief was adamant about it.
No, but about, what he's saying now is that Chuck and Gary
Oh,
also disagreed with.
yeah, I can find it if you'd like.
No, it's all right, I believe you, you don't have to,
the fire chief
No.
was kind of ambivalent. I can work either way.
he said it worked great in Groton, he was fine with, but he would, I mean, they both would rather, obviously, it's like a, personally, it's a demotion almost, right? I mean, you're at this level, you're at the same level of the town manager, because you're both reporting to the select board, and now you're reporting to the town manager instead, on a day-to-day basis. So, I mean, I get that, of course you prefer to be up here, I would too. So to me, that's understandable, I get it. So if in fact, we can say that, but we don't, of course, we don't say here anything about what the select board was in favor or against it at all.
And I'm just putting it out there as to
Right.
whether or not you think it's worthy of entering it, and if it's not, that's fine. Don't need to spend, time. I just want to make note of it.
Well, in that regard, we're looking at 2 incumbents and their preference. And what we're supposed to be looking at is what's best for the town in the long run,
Right.
without going to personalities.
Right.
So I think what we've said here is the correct way to do it. They should be reported to the town manager. If the selectmen want to change that, that's fine, that's their prerogative. If town meeting wants to change it, that's fine. But to follow what we've been going through, to be consistent, I think what we have here is exactly what should be said.
I'm fine with that.
Okay. Anybody else want to leave it, or anybody want to make a change? You okay with it the way it is?
No, I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, and then we'll, after, again, I expect there will be more updates after our meeting with them, and we can
Yeah.
decide what we want to do. Okay.
And the document, to the best of my ability, was intended to be just that, like a sort of neutral, like, this is where we are, this is some of the things for it, this is some of the things against, like, sort of to help rationalize, like a little bit of a primer, so as they're going through the charter.
It's remarkable that you were able, this was able to be put together. I'm gonna take, yeah, considering, it's kind of sad, the whole year of work is end up with 2 pages of paper.
It's perfect. No one wants to go through hours and hours.
Yeah, it's right, if you don't want to read the minutes, and we'll get this out to the public, like I said, it may be soon, so everybody can see this, because this will be.
When I run for governor, I want you to do my policy papers.
Claude can do them for you. No, happy to.
Okay, any other comments on this one? Any suggestions for changes or anything? All right, you want to talk about elected versus appointed?
In the first sentence under note on appointment authority, first sentence under note on appointment authority, it says, for any board or commission that transitions from elected to appointed
Hang
citizen.
on, I'm not there yet. Hang on, where are you?
Page you.
First page?
It's at the bottom.
Appointment authority, okay, sorry.
There we go.
For any board or commission.
Would be made by the select board, not by the town manager or any single individual, except for the moderator. Have we removed the moderator as an appointing?
Appointment authority.
Oh, for the
From
fund.
elected
you're
to
right,
appointed.
that's-
We're done.
Read that appointments will be made by the select board. Okay.
Okay. Is that the only exception to that? I think it is, isn't
I
it? Does
believe
it
so.
deserve just an asterisk, you think, or like a little asterisk saying, except for the town moderator's appointment as a quick comment?
Well, but that's not transitioning anything. Oh, wait, no, it's not, but it's not part of this, though. That transitions from elected to appointed. First clause on that.
For any board or commission that transitions
From elected to appointed.
all
That's
right.
not FinCom, right?
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah,
Yep.
I took it the same way you did, that was a broad,
yeah, I thought it was a general statement
Yeah.
versus regarding boards that move from one thing to another. I see that now.
Okay,
I think
that's
so.
good.
I-
okay. That's why we're doing this.
So continuing the library trustee in the chart, in light of what we've just discussed over under keynotes, under Board of Library Trustees, it states trustees retain director appointment authority. Do we want to add and supervision? And again, I'm not,
Yeah, no, we should. Do-do-do.
I got,
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, they do it now, so it's not a change necessarily, so.
They retain it, yeah.
this next comment for me is under the summary of recommendations right above the chart, the box that identifies the last phrase, or overall concern that too much change will derail the charter passage.
I'm sorry, I missed where you are then.
Okay.
I thought you were up here.
So I'm,
You're on different.
The definitions
here.
of
yeah,
the,
Karen's got it up on the board.
No, but I still need to have it here. Oh, okay, I'm looking at it. So why is this different? Oh, I just got printed it this way instead. Okay, so what do you got?
So my concern is that we've had just some discussion that after the last select board discussion with you, and they pushed back pretty hard saying that's not, what we want your best recommendations, we don't, and yet what I can't speak to is what different members thought.
Right.
Because we have had extensive discussion that
Yep.
came up. So I just want to point it out that it's a phrase that caused me pause.
Because we're saying with reservations, even though we voted unanimous?
no, the definition of it.
No.
Just that, did we do that because of the weight of thinking that we would be derailing the charter's passage at town meeting?
They were,
Because that's, I view this statement as being the reasons with the reservations.
submitted, voted to recommend, but with a narrow margin, dissenting votes, unresolved implementation details, or discrepancy between the vote and the current draft charter language.
Yeah.
Oh, and so you're saying
I
that-
didn't consider that when
I know,
Did I?
and I didn't as an
Right.
Yeah,
individual,
I
but
think-
there's 9 of us, or there
Yeah.
were 9 of us, and I don't know whether that's an appropriate statement or not. I can't speak for all of you.
Well, you have to admit that that did come up in several,
Absolutely.
as we talked about it,
right.
about whether or not something would get through town meeting or Board of Selectmen.
No, I think,
I don't know if it impacted on anybody's decision, but we did.
did me.
And
For
and
sure.
then we had that meeting with you, and the select board, several of us were there, and they pushed back on that pretty hard, saying, no, that's not your turf, that's our turf, select board. But again, I agree with what you're saying. I don't know, other than I wanted to bring it up. So we were very intentional with
Yep.
regard to continuing that phrase.
No, well, I hadn't picked this up, Rob, but actually, I would like it to say something about that was part of it, because we don't really talk about that at all on these different levels, do we?
No.
I mean, we could keep it acknowledging that it was something that was discussed, but it's where some of those reservations came from, but I agree, we sort of have gone back and forth as to the weight that we want to give that particular factor. I realized also in reading that this discrepancy between the vote and the current draft charter language, I think is just an artifact of looking at the 2 different versions, so I can scratch that, because I don't think that is a pertinent.
No. I think it makes sense, I mean, because we spent a lot of time discussing that, that we don't want something to not, there's things we really want to pass, and there's some things we want to pass, but if these are going to just derail the other ones,
I
that
think
was
you
a
just
concern.
identified influencing a vote, so therefore I think it should stay.
Okay.
But I wanted to bring it up.
All right, so
Make
you can
sure.
add that in, Charlotte?
I'd keep it in, yeah.
Okay.
Kyle, do you want, under the town clerk, you put out a
I
statement?
was just waiting my turn. Yeah.
All right,
Sure. I mean, so initially I had thought, like many of these positions, that the town clerk should be appointed. And then I started thinking about what that really means and everything that the town clerk is responsible for. And really, the town clerk is ultimately responsible only to the citizens of Littleton, only to the people that elect the town clerk. And I started thinking about ways in which, because I know we've talked about, well, there are laws that dictate that position, but there are also ways in which you can influence that position that aren't necessarily illegal. And I thought that the town clerk of all the positions, because it's so important for our elections, to hold our leaders accountable in the form of open records requests, that I felt that it should remain an elected position based on those things that I just said, based on why I think it's so important for the democracy of Littleton, representing the people and serving the people. And for the things that, because it's so important, I wouldn't want any undue influence in the form of, like, when you report to someone, they will influence you regardless of if you're breaking a law or not. So that's my position. I'm not trying to convince you all to change your position, but after interacting with the town clerk and thinking about some of the things that I was asking and thinking about the ways in which my requests could be, deferred or perhaps take more time than they should, and maybe reasons could be given to me that aren't necessarily illegal. They just could be ways in which to obstruct. This is why I changed my opinion on it.
Okay, so my intention was not to have further discussion on that tonight. We're gonna have more, the next meetings with the select board, we'll have more discussion about a lot of things. And then after that, we can figure out if we want to regroup, if we want to relook at any of these. Because we've said all along, none of these things are final until they're final. So as we learn new things, we always want to be open to, if I've learned something new, I might change my position because of, fact-based things, that we'll continue to do that. But so rather than derail this whole discussion there, we're going to take that, you've said it, we'll wait until
Yeah, and this is still correct.
a future meeting.
With
For right now,
reservations.
as of that time, that's what it was. I would just,
So I was going to say, do I need to update that with a 6-3 instead of a 7-2?
I'd say you have to.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
okay,
We heard,
either way, it doesn't matter.
Heard?
If we're
You
going to
read?
talk to it, it's not,
it's on tape.
it's,
It's in email.
Accurate as of now.
right. Okay.
And we'll talk about this later, is that what you?
Yeah, and we'll talk after we meet with the select board, and, and some of these other discussions we're gonna have later, then we'll come back and see where we are and all these things. And we're gonna keep learning, and go ahead, because, what we find in the subcommittee, we're working through the document, you kind of, I always talk about the big rocks, you get these things, you finally get that noise, get that stuff cleaned up, and then all of a sudden, no, I didn't see that before, And so that's what we're getting down to, the good stuff now, if you will, or the fine tuning. So, I'm sorry, Charlotte, go ahead.
Well, no, just in putting together this document, I also had some change of opinions around the Board of Health. So I think it was an interesting exercise to really go back and look at, again, what are the arguments for, what are the arguments against, where did we land, and if we're going to discuss that at a later
Yes.
date, I can absolutely postpone my comments
Yes,
on that.
otherwise
But I know we'll go down a
We're gonna
rabbit
wait,
hole.
but no, but that's good, okay, and so
yeah.
that's kind of there too. So I also, I guess, kind of along the lines you were talking earlier about with the reservations and what that means and how we had this discussion. To me, I know even like Park and Rec, and Board of Health, Board of Health says committed with reservations, and Park and Rec says fully committed. I'm not sure why those are, one says with reservations and the other one's fully committed.
Where are you?
I'm still looking at the chart.
Yeah.
So Park and Rec
Board
says-
both committed with reservation.
Huh.
Is the version I have.
Okay. Well, I've obviously printed off
That's what
a
I have as well.
wrong version. So they both say,
Committed with
Reservations,
reservations. I have
okay,
on
never
those
mind then.
ones, yeah.
never mind. Wonder what else is different. Okay. All right.
Do you have a different chat? This is what,
Did you print off maybe the original
Maybe I
that
probably,
I,
that's probably what
before
I have. I
had
don't have you
checked
to
it?
change. I gave you updates, right? And then
Yes,
I don't even have
and
my
I
own update.
fully
Should probably look
went
at yours.
through with a
me look at
fine
yours.
tooth comb, yeah.
Okay. Can't get good help these days, you know? All right, so that's good. So you did that already, so, yeah, because I have these notes here, so I sent those to you and then I forgot. Okay, Board of Health. Da-da-da-da-da. All right, we'll fix that. Cemetery. Yeah. Okay. Okay, great, cool. Yeah, that's exactly what I did. This is my old version, not the new one.
I found myself with Board of Assessors, the last sentence. I'd like to propose a change, the last sentence. It,
I think he's looking at the comments here, Board of Assessors
so
now, I
it's,
think.
it's
Oh, I got
under
it.
the,
What were you looking at?
it's
just
under
trying not
the
to-
additional notes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just trying not to spin really fast so people
I
don't get
appreciate.
car
Okay.
sick.
So it's the last sentence in which it says, committee agreed that if the Board of Assessors, the appointing authority for the Finance Committee, needed to be reassigned, it would go to library trustees. I think we're proposing it. I rechecked the charter proposal, and
Should
it already
be.
makes that assumption that we're proposing that, so I want to get out of the whole needed to be and.
Okay.
and
Okay,
just-
should be reassigned to the library
Yes.
trustees.
Yep.
Okay, got it.
I'll postpone the Board of Health, but I want to make the notation. In the second to last sentence, under the Board of Health model, or the note, it says the board has not struggled to fill positions via election thus far, but I've done some review, and one of the 5 elected has attended very, very few meetings in the last year. And I view that as and I have a similar awareness on FinCom with a member, and those things trouble me. So a positive statement of stating hasn't had difficulty, that's a true statement, but it feels to me like it's a little bit hollow in that one of the elected people, in fact, I would argue, is not serving as expected. And yet there's been no presentation or request for change, et cetera, and that troubles me.
Are you proposing to strike it or to change it?
That would be my preference, because I don't want to, belabor it, but it's up to you folks. I'm just pointing out something that caused me pause.
Would it make sense to say something like the board is
Well,
not?
but
Oh, sorry.
Well, I know where you're going, and I agree with that, and we're working on putting some things in the charter to address some of those things. But in terms of this document, what this says is correct, though. I mean, they have filled their through elections, they filled the position. You don't necessarily, maybe the quality isn't what you think it should be and so on, but I don't know that we want to talk about that here.
Do we,
I just think it gives a false read. I have no idea.
Do
I
we
would
make
hope the select
similar-
board members are aware of it, but I have no idea if they're aware of it.
do we
I
make
don't know that
similar-
it's factually incorrect.
It's
though.
not factually
And I
incorrect.
think this is kind of along the same lines as some of the HR issues that we've heard about other positions. And they're asking, well, can the charter fix this? And no, this is not the place for the charter to fix it. I think we can recognize that there are problems that need to be solved, but I don't know that the charter is the appropriate place to solve what you're talking about. And I know that we've deliberated on some of those things about write-in elections or what you're talking about. I don't know, I'm acknowledging that it's a problem, and I'm also saying that this is not factually incorrect.
And I'm good with letting it go, but I wanted to take the 2 minutes here in order to air the concern.
Okay, thank you.
So on to that, are we making similar statements about the other boards? The competitiveness of the election? Because what I think we might do is maybe use that chart as an appendix that the Collins Center provided, that we put on the poster of the competitiveness of the elections, and then just attach that as FYI.
Yeah, we could do that.
Is it
Are
needed
you-
here, or can we make it a separate
It's
statement?
just a matter, just think we have to put stuff to the select board, we have to give them a packet. Anything we're gonna talk about there, we have to give them the stuff, so we have to, we can reference, we can just talk about it in general, or.
It could be helpful, because in this chart, the one that was in the brief, the primer, we do note, for instance, elections rarely contested elections, rarely contested, so we noted in the
Yeah.
column,
So maybe
but
just
maybe
attach
having
that
that
as-
as an annex so that we can see
Yeah.
the stats behind it,
Okay.
so that we're
All
not
right.
just like making that up.
Right, yeah, right, exactly.
Okay.
I wanted to just ask a question. Is your concern that if we put in this document, the board has not struggled to fill positions via elected thus far. But if we go to the other data set where we have, the contested election ratio, if it's low, then that would suggest that it's almost the opposite, right? If they're not having issues filling positions, but the elections are never contested, then that would tell me that they probably do have problems, or they would potentially have problems because there aren't people coming up and getting on the ballot to get elected. So how can both be
There's
true
one
at the
spot
same
and one
time?
person goes, it's not a contested election, so they haven't had problem filling spots,
Okay.
but are they contested elections? And
Seems
they're
that there are
not.
many ways in which you could read into
I
this
was just
statement.
trying to make sure
Statistics, you know?
we provided similar information for
Yeah.
each group that we're talking about, and I just thought that chart would be an easy way to say, here's
Yeah.
what it looks like from
Mm-hmm.
a competitive standpoint.
I mean, based on that, Karen, I'm sort of critiquing my writing here. I would maybe suggest taking it out because I don't write it for any of the other summaries here. I don't have it in any of the additional notes.
Okay.
That they've not struggled to fill positions. I've noted where they were contested or rarely contested. But again, you can have something which is not contested but still filled. So I think there's an inconsistency there, and so I'm actually in favor of editing my writing.
I agree.
Okay, go for it, but then we should attach, I would like to
Yeah,
attach that then, so we have
Yeah,
that.
attach them.
Because that actually supports which ones are being switched to, actually.
There's another document that Collins gave us that listed out the characteristics of an appointed entity versus an elected entity. Should we attach that or not?
I think that's in there.
That's,
isn't it?
Is
I
it?
summarized that in the bullets. It's a little bit more, it's in these bullets here. It's much
I don't want people to get
briefer.
sick looking at
It
this.
is intended to capture that
Yeah.
rubric, yeah.
Okay, anything else? All right, so if you can make those, and can you turn those around like tomorrow?
Yeah,
Tomorrow, you
yeah.
think? Okay,
No,
great.
I had that
Because I-
date in
because I
mind.
gotta
The
get it to them.
17th, they have to go to the select board.
Okay,
Problem.
awesome. Thank you. All right, very good. All right, we can move on then to, well, first of all, let me just,
What do you want me to bring up next?
the email,
What's the email?
the one that I sent this afternoon.
Oh, okay, I had that up earlier. Got it, okay.
Is there any public input on here? Anybody? No? And then let's do minutes, so I don't forget, everybody doesn't get excited at the end and run out before we, then we'll get into the other stuff. So we have minutes from March 2nd. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Anybody second? This is easy stuff, guys, come on.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Yeah, we noted that some of the Board of Health members were here. Mark Rombacher was also here for pretty much the entire meeting, so if we're gonna note the Board of Health members, and I don't really care, but, to me, somehow consistency, I don't wanna slight that. But I don't care.
Okay.
I'm just bringing it up. If you don't care to do
Okay.
it, so be it.
And Rob, I think you had a helpful, an acronym that I hadn't spelled out, and I made that change.
Okay, great.
For
Yeah,
for
the
clarity. It was-
DLS instead of
Yes,
Division of Local
exactly. And
Services. Yes, correct.
I-
Thank you, thank
It's a
you.
pet peeve of mine anyway, when people don't spell out acronyms, so I was like, oh, again, my worst critic.
TLAs for our TLAs, I know. Okay. All right, so somebody want to now make a motion to approve them as amended?
So moved, yeah.
So
Second.
moved.
Thank you. Second, thank you. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, now,
What did you send out this afternoon?
I sent out this afternoon at 3 o'clock, so I apologize, it is late.
It's on the screen.
It was
Do
late.
you wanna,
This was subcommittee, the subcommittee met last Thursday and Friday. You can look at mine this time, Joe.
chance to read it earlier?
I apologize for being late, but we met Thursday and Friday, and then I had the grandkids all weekend long, and there was no sitting down at the computer, so that's how it goes. I got to it today, sorry, folks, but do the best we can, right?
It's fine.
Okay, so these are things that we've been discussed, so, what this isn't is, here's wording, do you accept it or not? What I want to do is have discussion on these items and the direction we're going, and then we can go through and spend more time getting the exact wording, and then we'll come back to you with that. But first was to see if you were in agreement with where we were heading with some of these topics. And again, now this is kind of getting down into some of this, the concerns we're hearing, checks and balances, a lot of these direct on that. Are there things we can do better to make people feel that they're not losing their voice, or that they have an avenue, or whatever? And so that's what we're seeing as we go through these. All right, so number 2.9, or section 2.9, I should say. So this is, in the charter, 2.9 talks about the select board and taking warrants, and warrants onto town meeting. And right now it says, shall receive at any time all requests for submission to town meeting of an article. Part of the discussion, you remember last meeting, let me go back to that too. We were talking in, what was that other section? In 9.2, we were talking about, this was in general provisions, we were talking about if there were reorg changes, that the select board could do them. And Rob had one town, or the Collins had provided us with one town where they had what they called a dual path. It could be, in most cases, the reorgs would be the town manager and the select board would kind of work together, and they would do it, basically, right, with a public hearing and so on. And then there was also an avenue to go through, have town meeting do it. And it was kind of confusing, like exactly how that would work and so on. But in talking through it further, I mean, what we're really trying to say is that there's some way that these, whether it's the boards that are being changed from elected to appointed, or anybody else in town that somehow feels they have a town manager with more authority, that somehow they've lost their voice, that they don't have a way to get something done, that, again, in more research, you find out that what some towns do is when they talk about warrant articles, there's specific wording that says any town agency can put a warrant on the put an article on the warrant. So if it's a board, if it's a majority of the board really wants to do something, and they're not getting, they can't, working with the town manager, with the select board, or whatever they're doing, they're not coming to agreement, and they can't get it done, then this is an avenue for them to say, okay, then we're gonna come and we wanna put a warrant, so we're taking the town meeting, basically. Whatever that is. And this leaves it open. It's not just reorgs or things like that. This is really anything, if it really comes to that point. And it seemed like a good thing, the discussions we had in there. I mean, not only for that, just to people feel like they have an avenue, but it also is kind of a way to put some pressure on getting people to really do good faith negotiating on both sides, right? Because you don't really want this to go to town meeting, right? You never want this to happen. And if it does, it does. But if not, okay, maybe we can work this out ahead of time. So that was the thought behind it.
Don't like it.
Okay?
I'm the Board of Health Director. I don't like what the town manager wants me to do. So, or what is he doing to my department? So I'm gonna go to town meeting and have them adjudicate it? No. I don't, you're giving departments something that do you find this anyplace else? In any other charter?
Yes.
I certainly can't see
Yes.
what there's any worth to it. It's another way to
It actually is.
form chaos.
It actually is implied now, because it says that the select board shall receive at any time all requests for submission at town meeting of an article. So anybody could do it now, anyway. We're just calling it out more, to make it more obvious.
You can receive it at select board, but they don't have to put it on the warrant.
Right. That's the point, why we're doing it. There's actually, in the Collins Center January 30th memo, there are actually 3 that require town meeting or bylaw vote. And those are Plainville, Sutton, and Townsend, and don't give the authority to the select board to have that authority to be the gatekeeper from which all decisions are made. They actually bypass the select board and say, if you're going to do reorganization provisions, you have to go to town meeting or bylaw. Hull has either the select board or the town meeting, and there were 3 others presented in the comparable group that Anthony and Melvin gave us that run it the way you stated, Ellen, that it should be exclusively select board. But there definitely are other charters that exist with regard to this concept at town meeting.
Karen, can I ask that you're here? I'll put you on the spot, I'll put you on the spot. So right now, if people bring warrants, I mean, do you say yes or no, or articles, do you say yes or no, they get on the warrant, or they pretty much, everything that comes in gets, okay, Diane wants to talk to it?
Sure, I'll be happy to.
Okay.
Anything that comes to the board has to be put on the warrant, unless it's late. There's a deadline. It has to be put
That's what I
on,
thought.
even if it's not acceptable, if the wording is not acceptable, it has to be put on.
Okay.
You mean as a petition?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, provided they've met the requirements for citizens.
But that's not reorganization.
But if the.
Right.
If
If the cemetery commission came and they want some article they want to put in, so we want to make sure this happens in town meeting, or they could come and do that.
Yeah, so typically the select board open up the warrant
Mm-hmm.
on a specific day, they give X amount of time, then they say it's gonna close by this day. And then they say, we're going to, we're opening up to all the boards and committees if they wanna bring an article to the town meeting, special town meeting, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's coming through as a petition. The warrant article can be brought to Jim's office or the town manager's office, and he would bring it. Sometimes we put it as a placeholder, and then town council would add it.
I think we need to be real clear. We're not talking about the way it exists today. What I'm talking about is what's in 2.9.
Yeah.
And in 2.9, we're saying every warrant issued by select board, that's A. B, initiation of warrant articles, unlike what we're doing today, the select board shall receive at any time all requests for submission to a town meeting of an article. Doesn't say from boards and committees. It does say shall include any 10 voters. It deals with citizen petition, but it doesn't deal at all with boards and committees.
But it says anytime, all requests for submission to town meeting of an article.
And by its removal, and not, we mentioned citizen petition, but we nowhere state that boards and committees will continue to have that ability as it exists today in our practice.
The select board doesn't initiate all the articles on the warrant, do they?
They do not, but here we've got this, contentious, at times, Board of Health, Park and Rec stating, do not flip us from elected to appointed. Cemetery, again, another group. I'm just stating, at a minimum, if we're keeping it this way, then I would say, then let's update this, wordsmith it with regard to, put in a statement stating that the appointed boards and committees can bring forward an article. Somehow I think that Ellen may not agree that that should be allowed. I don't know, but I'd like to hear you further, should we care to discuss this further.
Madam-
It's not the way it is today. I'm saying we were restricting it to select board and there's no reference to boards and committees, and that concerns me.
No, I'm looking for some clarity because we've been using the word departments and we've been using the word boards and we've been using the words committees. Departments are really different. Are we talking about letting departments put something on the warrant? As in if the accounting department doesn't like the direction from the town manager, they have a right to put something on the
Madam Chair?
Yes?
I wasn't finished though.
Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So,
Yeah,
or
sorry.
are we talking?
Wait, Anthony, hang on.
Or are we talking about boards and commissions? Are we talking about employees or are we talking about residents?
Maybe people with the commissions, but.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, departments can do it, right? But Anthony, what are you gonna say?
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, but I think, unless I might be missing something, but I think something might be getting a little conflated here. We're talking about reorganization, but we're also
No,
talking
we're-
about the submission of.
We're not just
warrant.
talking about reorg in this case, that's the issue. It's just
Okay,
in general, putting articles on the warrant.
Okay, so I'll hold my statement then, please continue.
Up till just a minute ago, I would have just said boards and committees, but we also have a department of town clerk that is a single town employee. And should that important position want to bring forward an article and feel not getting proper consideration along the way, I would find myself allowing the town clerk to also basically fight for the position that they feel. And again, going to Betsy's statement, I never want to see it happen, and I would look for that ability to take it to town meeting as a significant lever to deal with the town manager or the select board in order for consideration of whatever's being debated.
As an employee department, town clerk is almost the exception to every rule.
Correct.
I would say that, town clerk and boards and commissions rather than departments, because that gets
Yeah.
very,
Yeah.
departments gets
Yeah,
really.
that'd be
weird.
fine. That'd be fine.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, so here you have like the planning board who, so Maren quite often will bring an article on behalf of the planning board. And so when an article comes through, it's for like zoning or something like that. It doesn't come through as a petition, it comes through as a warrant article.
But from the planning
But
board.
from the planning board,
Yeah.
but it's, it's through,
Yeah, no, you're right.
so-
And then the question is in terms of, yes, we always put it on,
Yes.
and then the question is, does the select board vote to support it? And that's where the agree to disagree part comes in.
So it's okay to leave departments in there then?
No?
No.
Well, but you just said the planning, the
Town-
planning board, it's not the planning department.
Yeah, town
That's
clerk
the difference.
and boards and commissions, I would say.
Okay. And the wording would be, even a board, it has to be the board, a majority of the board. It can't just be one
Right.
person on a board wanting to do something.
Citizen at that point, yeah.
Okay, so boards and committees and town
Well, you
clerk.
don't have disgruntled employees wanting to put something on.
Yeah, yeah.
So, okay, so and then part B to this is then, that boards and committees then would also have the right to use town legal counsel to have their articles reviewed and make sure that they're appropriate. As boards and committees of the town. I know you're going through those discussions now, but,
Through the select board, I would say.
Mhm.
I would rather say that the select board can't deny town council, but we need to be aware of it, just from a budgetary
that's okay,
perspective.
that's
Yeah.
fine.
I was gonna say, run up the
There's
hours.
there's a
really quick.
bylaw
Well,
or a
they
policy
could.
of the select board that goes through a public hearing process if the town manager rejects it, et cetera. So I think there's adequate safeguards, for me anyhow, that
I hope the
exist.
town council would say, I'm not doing it unless somebody tells me, somebody that they work for says they can do it,
Right.
but, okay, yeah, okay, that's fair.
One would hope.
Yeah, you would hope.
So just for the notes,
Yeah.
you have something about halfway down the page, it says C, would be changed to read so that only articles submitted by town agencies would be reviewed by town council. So you're saying that would be the
So,
sentence that would be
Yeah,
wordsmithed
we're not
a
gonna use
little
this
bit.
exact wording anyway, so
Okay.
this is the generic wording that
Gotcha.
we had. And I was just saying, but some of the wording is not what we wanted.
Okay.
So, because we would not say, yeah,
It would be town clerk boards and commissions, and there'd be
And the-
something in there about going through the select.
but we
board.
would probably change this to town agencies, because town agencies would be departments.
So we'd say town
Town,
clerk.
we should avoid town
We were not
agencies.
gonna use
That's
town
a
agencies
problematic
then.
term.
Yeah, we're gonna say by boards and commissions.
And town
Yeah,
clerk.
that came up somewhere else, didn't it? Yeah.
Cool, all right.
Okay.
Is there enough consensus around the the room to add that?
Fine.
Everybody comfortable with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You go putting it in there, I mean, just explicit, just make it explicit. And again, this is coming back and giving these other people saying, putting things in here to make sure you've got an avenue still. Okay. Okay. All right, Veronica, you're okay now? Or are you going along anyway?
Move along.
You want to go home?
I'll catch up.
Let's more coffee. All right, 3-4C. Yeah, Karen's attention on this, we're talking about select board again. Okay, so 3-4C, the charter says the select board is responsible for the formulation and promulgation of policy directives, blah, blah, blah. So, we're, again, in what we've heard some, especially through some of the discussions we've had, is there seems to be some disconnect in terms of who's reaching out to whom. And so the select board does policies, and other boards have their policies, whether it's Board of Health or Park and Rec or whomever. But, are they talking to each other? And obviously, the charter can't dictate and can't make it so that people talk to each other and communicate like we hope that they would. But the way it reads now, it's kind of in the charter, some of our discussion was, it's kind of like the select board sets the policy and then they kind of throw it over the wall. Okay, there's the policy. You got wording we can put in to just say this is more of a two-way street here, right? We all have to do this. And so part of it was, so further understand the concerns and clarifying the goals as part of the process. So while still staying out of the day-to-day execution of those goals. So in some towns have wording saying that the select board has to hear all appeals and special problems. So they are basically the final arbiter, if you will. If things aren't getting worked out for whatever reason within the regular town hall, again, you want to stay out of town, out of the day-to-day, but if it's not getting worked out and it's a problem, that the select board is the open door. I mean, at some point you have to be able to go to them and resolve it. And it's just stating it. You would hope that happens anyway, but it's stating it. Acting as a final arbiter to bring conflicting department actions back into alignment with the town goals, and to work with the elected boards to harmonize their policies with town goals. So again, not just here are the policies, you guys need to do it, but there's some onus on them, on everyone, to work together to harmonize these policies. And not to take over obviously the Board of Health has the policies, they have to do that, nothing to do with what the select board would have anything to say about. Same with, some of the things the police department has to do and so on. But that was the intent here, so I don't know if you want to go down that path or not, but just to add some more wording along the lines that are in here.
You talk about 3-4C, right?
3-4C.
If we don't add anything like this, what's the risk? Is that these things
Nothing.
just fester and...
It's just like today, well, they say, we never talk to them, but I've asked them to come to our meeting and they never come. And is this gonna fix that? Probably not. It just puts some stuff out there, like some expectations are that this is a two-way street and everybody needs to be working to, harmonize. We're all on the same team, basically. This is just a reaction to a lot of the stuff we've heard lately.
I think we've heard from different groups concern with regard to our group's not going to get enough attention because of this hierarchy model that's being presented.
Mm-hmm.
Our group has requested it and we've been denied. And those are two that we've heard firsthand. I'm not saying they're legitimate, established claims, but we've heard them. And as a basis for that, I'm looking for this language to be inserted in order to make the select board the arbiter as the chief executive, the chief policy making, and deal with it there. And feeling very good that we're retaining that elected accountability in the select board, that if the public doesn't like what's then playing out with those decisions, then next time elections come up, change the electorate.
I mean, some of what this does too is if there are real issues and they're not getting resolved, I mean, anything that goes to the select board is now public record, right? So it's either a real issue that you're gonna take it there, or you're gonna resolve it before you get there because you don't want to be a public record. So there's a yin and a yang there, right? Which you want in the system, I think, but.
Devil's advocate.
Yeah? Hang on, Anthony, go ahead.
So if the head of the XYZ department says, I want to fire him, and the HR director says, no, you can't fire him, you haven't done the right things. There's too much legal risk firing him. And they're at loggerheads. That goes to the select board?
Town manager.
And the town manager takes up with the department head and says, fire him. And the HR manager says, no, this is wrong. This is wrong. We should not be firing this person. That goes to the select board?
You say yeah?
I would think the HRs could, I would think the HR, whether it's this issue or a matter of an accusation made to the HR director in confidence, they've got to have a pathway with regard to getting counsel involved with regard to the lack of adherence to the HR policies and the personnel bylaw, I would think. I would hope that the bylaw and the HR policy, the employee handbook, adequately cover that. My reading wasn't specific, rooting out this element, but my reading is, I'm not concerned about that example presenting itself. I think it would get resolved, but I can't say that definitively. If we want to pursue it, pursue it.
I was seeing people shaking their heads
Madam-
yes in the back of the room. No, you weren't?
No, I'm
Okay.
interested to hear what Anthony.
All right,
has to
Anthony,
say
go
about it.
ahead.
So just a couple sort of items here. So, this provision, as the hypothetical that someone put forward a moment ago, kind of directly conflicts with the 6-2 in the town manager section on powers and duties, where I believe the committee gave the town manager sort of to be the final say for for the hiring, firing of most town employees. If the intent here, and also the other thing I'll just point out is appeals, the word appeals, you've got sort of, I think you're on two sides of sort of different of the same issue, which is appeals usually has a specific meaning, and that could be around employment questions, but there are other bodies in town government that have a specified appeals process under law. So I think the use here could cause some confusion. And similarly, the word special problems, I don't think is as specifically defined as, so I think on both sides, it can create some confusion as to what this is applicable to. If this is about policy making for the other elected boards, which are not otherwise sort of held to the same account as staff, then we may want to look at some language around there. But if if the intent is to create other pathways beyond the town administrator's administrative authority over staff employees, then this does conflict with the current structure of 6-2.
Well, I think maybe just to your point there, Kevin, if we're not saying that the town manager shall appoint and remove all department heads whenever they want if it conflicts with policy. I mean, I think that example still holds that if someone is doing something that is illegal or in direct conflict, you would expect that, well, it states that town council would still have to be involved in that, right? I don't know if that helps alleviate that particular concern, but we're not saying that they would have.
I'm worried, I should back away from the example I gave. I am worried about creating a workaround to the authority cited in 6.2 of the town manager.
Yep.
It is a workaround. It's an override, just the authority of the town manager, that if you disagree with the town manager, you can go up to the select board. You have this avenue on whatever matter.
Yep, that's true.
I think the intent pertains to policy harmonization and not employee specific. So I'd just like to pull this good discussion pertaining to employees, but do we see a need? I do, with regard to boards and commissions, with regard to policy lack of harmony. And I'll even expand that with regard to concern that I believe we discussed several times how we want the town manager to be that one-stop shopping of accountability for execution of policies. And if we have conflict between an appointed Board of Health and a select board policy, how does the town manager become accountable for the execution of policies that are conflicting? I'm looking for where do those policy boards resolve their matter, and hence that's why I'm for this pertaining to determination of policies.
But then we need a whole different wording, because where it says here are all appeals and special problems as well.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
So
This is not
we need
resolved at
complete-
management levels.
Yeah, or
Management
policy.
levels.
Yeah.
It should say, if the intent here is in regard to execution of policy that has been mandated, and there's a
So
difference
now that's another thing.
with regard to policy.
Okay.
But I think it's very dangerous to submit to, a back door for management decisions to be, oh, I disagree with the town manager, I'm going up to the select board on it.
Okay.
Complete agreement on that.
Okay, we're good? All right, so we'll go back to subcommittee and we'll look at this some more and think about wording it somehow differently, so specifically about policy differences, and that makes sense. Go ahead, Karen, go ahead.
If I'm distilling this down, it sounds like specific boards and commissions have the right to create their policies without any input from select board. But any select board policy that has anything to do with another board or committee has to get their input first, which sounds like a really difficult way to do things.
I'm not sure, that's certainly not the intent.
But I don't want to shy away from what you're saying. I mean, I think if there's a greater emphasis on appointed boards and commissions, and Board of Health, for example, that Kevin stated, they have they have the ability to create law. So if there's any conflict, I'm not saying they need to go to the select board for a mother may I
Right.
sort of thing, but if there's an inconsistency, then I think somebody should address it. And I think we've heard concerns from different boards and committees, as well as I'm introducing, I want clear accountability of the town manager, and I want clear ability for the town manager to perform very, very well for the citizens. And therefore, I don't want that person determining, how do I act here? Somebody has to decide a deciding vote somehow.
Yeah, so in your example of bylaws, that makes total sense to me, because we can't have people do bylaws, we need to come up with one bylaw. Makes sense, but the word policy, for example, the select board has a policy that none of us will go to employees directly without going through the town manager. Do we need to ask for everyone else's input on that and their permission before we go ahead and institute that policy? Kind of sounded like it.
I think the original language was something about designed to bring operation of all town agencies into harmony, and I liked and work with boards to harmonize their policies with town goals. To me, that unless there's language that I'm missing here, there's no sort of permission directionality here, but that my read of it is that it is still the responsibility of the select board as the chief policy-making authority in town to attempt, at least, to harmonize policies. That's the part that I liked in this, the part was highlighted in yellow, to work with, and I would actually just wonder if we needed to add elected or appointed boards and commissions, as in, are we only referring to elected boards here, or would it be broader? But again, that is the responsibility of the select board to harmonize, to try to make sure there isn't conflict, but not a direction of permission, or,
So are you talking strictly boards and commissions in one section and then employees in the other section?
I think we just scratch that first bit again.
I'm trying to,
I think we,
sounds like you're trying to bring the two together without bringing them together.
Yeah, I think we just scratched the employee, that thing is just, that's gone. So we talked through that one. So now we're talking.
are you clear on that? I agree, that's what I thought we were.
Okay, so you're getting rid of the employee part of that altogether.
I don't think it was in there. I think it
No, but that's
evolved
what
during the
kinda sounds like.
conversation.
Yeah, but we did talk to it, so that was good. It was
Yeah.
good to bring it up and talk it through. That's good.
Okay.
So I don't know if this makes sense or if it's appropriate, but is there some section or preamble to the charter that could talk about like guiding principles or values, or, something like everyone's expected to do the right thing, to work, play nice? Like, do you start with that and then get into all this? Because when you brought up, throw it over the wall, and then someone else has to, should there just be some basic rules of the game? We expect everyone to follow the law, do the best to their ability, bring forth problem. Just basic.
Some of them do that.
guiding
Yeah,
things.
Some of them do that.
Some do.
I mean, is that really what we're trying to get to here, or?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Sure,
Sure,
just for
Anthony.
you. But in this vein, some charters do have a provision in the select board duties and responsibilities around having a periodic, oftentimes annual meeting with the various, often it's elected boards, but you put any other board or committee in there and say that they will meet with them annually to, again, if it's an elected board, they can't tell them what to do, but to discuss how, their work in relationship to the town goals. I don't have the language on the top of my head, but they put in specific actionable items for the select board to actually require the boards or committees and the select board to meet at least once annually to discuss these types of coordinating issues.
How many meetings would that be?
Well, that might get rid of some of these things. Get to Rob's other point, too many boards and committees that aren't really active anymore, get rid of them.
There's almost 50 boards.
Yeah, please
Collateral benefits.
please get rid of it.
I mean, that's been part of the select board's policies now, that they are supposed to be meeting with them, and they try to get them to come and they don't show up.
So this is the two-way street again we talk about, right? Yeah.
Maybe is it worth naming like big five or big three?
We talked about that sometimes too.
The ones that have direct
Some of them have
governing.
mandated by MGL or something like that, that they even exist, right? Okay, so I think, okay, so we got some feedback. This is what we were looking for, though, just to get some more feedback on this and what direction we wanted to go on this, and then we can work on it some more and get there. So this is very helpful for everybody. We're had more discussion here, but you see where we were heading with that. So that was for me, that was useful. Thank you for everything.
Is everything you talk about dealing with the letter that, the information that came out at 3 o'clock?
Yep.
Because I put everything in the folder, I thought I was all set, so I'm at times lost when you're talking about things here.
And again, I apologize, Beck, so.
I didn't have a chance to read it in advance, but we're
take some
just
time and talk
going
about these
through.
more before we get through these. All right. So, okay, so the next one is talking about 3.4D and 6.2A. This comes down to some charters have a statement that either the select board and or the town manager have the power to investigate departments. Our current charter says the select board shall cause the bylaws, et cetera, to be enforced. And then under 6.2, it says the town manager shall be responsible for the proper operation of town affairs. It could be said that this implies that they have the authority to investigate. I personally think it does. So the question here is, do we want to add something to say that somebody has the power to investigate, or do we assume it's implied? They said they're responsible to enforcing these things. Part of that, if something's going wrong and you need to find out what it is, well, to me, obviously, go investigate, please do. But this is the discussion we just wanted to have. This is what it says here.
Personally, I think it's implied. If you're authorized to enforce, you're authorized to gather all evidence to enforce.
I'd agree with that.
And if the town manager is responsible for the execution of the day-to-day, does the town manager have that authority, or does the select board have that authority? Flipping my question, how can the town manager do an evaluation of his responsibilities without the ability to investigate?
Can't.
So you're for the town manager having that implied?
I think about it just as any other, again, in the public sector. If I want to enforce something on one of my employees, or if I want to do a performance review, I'm going to gather information pertaining.
If it's felt that it's implied, then I do think it may be worthy at a future date with select board to make certain that it's understood that we chose not to put language in because we think it's implied, but we're expecting that the town manager has that authority.
I expect they have that authority. I would also expect them to tell the select board if they're doing it. If they don't, then that's another issue, and they can work that out in their reviews and so on, but
That's fair too.
that's how I would choose it.
And are we
Okay.
using investigate in some sort of more official term here?
That's
'Cause
the term that's used. That's the
to
term that's
investigate,
used. Well, I think-
okay, because it's like send
I
an
found
email and
the-
ask a question.
Well, you
I
can
mean,
have a state
like-
agency come in and do a review. You
Okay,
can ask me, you can do
okay.
something.
I found
Switch
it in
that
a
more.
charter and thought, that's an interesting finding.
Okay, because I would agree with you, Kyle, like if something is not properly operating, I, as a town manager, would want to be able to say, okay, I'm going to investigate why, right? I'm going to ask questions. I'm going to, gather information. I'm going to send some emails and talk to some people. If that's what we're implying here, then then I do think that is implied. If we're saying that there is some other grander authority to investigate, that it goes beyond that, then I don't know what that is.
Well, it could be asking the state to come in and do a review.
Okay.
Yeah, the term investigate, it's interesting that they use that term in those charters.
Not, I found it in one, thought it worthy of.
Okay.
But I think it's in others, so I think I've seen it multiple. But anyway, okay, so we're okay, it's implied, and we're gonna move on from that. Again, we need to have the discussion, because we don't wanna.
I think if they're responsible, then they're responsible.
You're responsible, right?
Yeah.
3.4J, there's some discussion about the town manager's review. 3.4J. The performance of the town manager. And we just said here, and we had some different wording on how much of it's public, and we've just said there are laws by Mass General Law, it has to be a public record. It doesn't have to be posted on a website, but it has to be a public record. And so we're just gonna say that, and it is a public record per the general laws. Just leave it at that, not get into more detail. You okay? Give me the look. Okay.
You have a look.
I give lots of looks.
I'm like, oh no, what do I do now?
I don't know.
Okay, all right, good. Like you just drove back from Pennsylvania, from Pittsburgh today, right? So you're exhausted and you sound like you have a cold to boot, so you're entitled. All right, 5.1G. Okay, so in 5.2F, if you jump forward to that, we added wording saying, again, this is back to this two-way street again. 5.2F, we added wording saying, even if you don't report to the select board, or to the town manager, if you don't report directly to the town manager, if he or she feels you need to have a conversation, you have to come in and talk to them. I mean, you shouldn't have to say it, but that's basically what this is saying. Am I got the right one?
No, I don't think so.
No, it's not 5.2F. What did I wrote the wrong thing down here, right? Where am I? 5.1G. I was close.
Well, 5.2F is the department heads reporting to the
5.1G
town
doesn't
manager, but 5.1.
5.1G doesn't, oh, this was adding one. So
Adding.
that's something new, so this is a new
Yeah.
creation, it's not in here now. So, that's right, and then 5.2F is a choral, 5.2F doesn't exist either, so I actually wrote that, that's obviously that's probably 6.2F. Let me see, that's probably a typo, we'll blame it on a typo. No, it's not that one either. All right, so, the other one is town manager. Let's do- Where is that wording? Anyway, there's somewhere we have in here, there is something that says, even if you don't report to the town manager directly, you're expected to come meet with them if there's a question, it's something you're supposed to work with. And we're just saying, should we have something similar under 5.1, which is other elected officers for elected boards, basically the same thing. If the select board requested you to come see them, then you need to come. I mean, again, should you have to say this stuff? No. But does it make sense to have it in there? And again, this is just getting back to this two-way street again, trying to, again, can you legislate it or not? I don't know. But is it worth pointing out that there are expectations still? If you're an elected board, you're only so independent, right? Even if you're an elected board, you're still part of this town, and you're still expected to work together and act like that.
So Betsy, I think are you suggesting a mirror to 5.1F? Elected town officers and department heads, elected multiple, or their representatives, blah, 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 blah.
Yes, okay, so that is the one. So I did have it 5.1F.
Shall be required to meet with the town manager,
Right.
blah, blah, blah.
Right,
So
so
you're
it's 5.1.
recommending a mirror, a similar provision as it relates to
Elected boards and
appoint?
elected boards and the select board. which maybe, you know, you can be less of those, so it gets to be less of a point. And maybe it should be all boards, maybe it should just be elected. But certainly elected, just because they're elected, you're not completely independent, you don't operate without having to work with the select board.
Is there, though, any, I mean, maybe you mentioned the wording would change here a little bit, because I feel like if you're saying that the select board under the charter has the authority to kind of summon an elected board, that might kind of cause a little bit of friction.
Goes back to this
But-
annual reviews that we talked about earlier, that might cover both.
Yeah, something that almost puts both the select board and the elected board on a similar footing, to say there must be some sort of
Right.
cooperative discussion, or, you know, rather than one summoning the other, that there is an expectation that elected boards, and of which the select board is an elected board,
Right.
have some means of harmonizing policy. Again, to me, it comes back to that first
It
part.
comes back to the first part, yeah.
You know, why are you summoning them? You know, to me, it's more about you want a mechanism so that there is a harmonization of policies in alignment with town goals, or whatever that
Yeah, to me,
comment
that's
was.
like a guiding principle. Like,
Yeah, and
it's like, how do you
Amen.
behavior kind of thing.
I know.
Yeah,
I
but I think
know.
if you codify it in the charter in such a way that says there has to be some sort of coming together,
Yeah.
then I think that helps to make sure that that behavior
At
is
least annually is, I think,
right.
covers.
Right.
Okay,
that,
and we
I
could
think.
do that, we could say that the meeting annually and talk about harmonizing policies and put those things
Yeah.
together, and that maybe gets the point across, which is really what we're
Because that
trying
does, to me, seem a bit more charter-esque, that there's in the charter, there is some mechanism to ensure that there is this harmonization of policy across elected boards, again, of which the select board is an elected board.
do. People feel better about that?
If we were to go into an annually, because that starts to get into, is that too much in a
Right.
charter, et cetera? So I like it, I like the conversation where we're trying to get here. I'd also be very open in order to try to not overburden the select board, to be conceptual with regard to, okay, hold a series of sequential joint meetings, like 5-minute meetings. This is the overall concept of harmony, and we're extending the hand. If there's something that lacks harmony, please come to see us, and we'll check in later this year in another 5-minute session. Did anything come up? Or if at any time you think something's coming up, then you have an open door. And get it done very, very, and it could even be by memo as far as I'm concerned, but I
Yeah,
like
we don't wanna-
directionally we're trying to do it, and I don't want to overburden because of the
Right.
phenomenal number of boards and committees that we have.
Yeah, I think if
Actually,
we leave
that's
out
too. Doesn't have to be a meeting.
specifics, you know, you don't say
Yeah,
how
right.
you need to do it, you just need to say
I
that
just want to
some
throw out
harmonization.
directionally, add on that part of, there could be an overburden.
Yeah, oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, right now, the personnel bylaw says that the Personnel Advisory Committee shall meet jointly with the Select Board and the Finance Committee as necessary, or at least annually. Never happened. Never has happened, to my knowledge, nor do I think it needs to happen. It goes on to, may go to your point, Karen. I don't know that there's any need for the Select Board, unless there is a need to prescribe a regular meeting between the I don't know if it's a good example or not, but I don't think there's any need. But, by the way, it goes on to say, on or before January 1st of each fiscal year, the Personnel Advisory Committee shall meet with the Select Board. I worry about that over prescription. That level, or saying that every board needs to meet with the Select Board at least annually. Board and committee.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's some general guiding principle that you're gonna work together and,
No, but that's all
you know,
kumbaya.
something basic
I'm
that
an
you
elected
just
official.
put up front.
So what if I don't meet with you? What are you gonna do to me? You can't,
No, right?
nothing.
I'm not going to go into details, but I believe we've had situations where we've had conflict in my time here.
Well,
So
and I
I'm
think you don't want, to your point, Kevin, I don't think, yeah, you'd want to make it overly cumbersome. So you either make it vague enough that it is this general principle of collaboration, or you make it specific enough that it doesn't become cumbersome. So you say, you know, these 3 elected boards and the select board. You know, you either parameterize it such that it really makes it very tight and very clear that it's not for everybody, otherwise you'd have 50 meetings that are probably redundant. Or yeah, I think if you settle somewhere in that middle ground, you'll end up saying like every single board and every single committee and then you're just in like a mess, right?
Yeah, and I think this do the right thing premise can be accomplished in different ways. It can be accomplished through liaisons, select board liaisons on committees, I think. That's one way, I believe, of creating communication and dialogue and awareness between entities. So I just want to be careful about over-prescribing how we do the right thing. I do think we should do the right thing. And I don't know that we're doing the right thing right now in terms of communication. So I will say that from what I've heard, it seems that there's not appropriate communication going on between important policy-making committees.
But it still comes down to how much you need legislative
Right.
stuff, right?
Right.
Yeah.
If I may.
Yes, sure, Anthony, please do. Yeah.
Just as you're thinking about sort of adding these provisions, I do caution committees against the idea of nudges, for lack of a better term, in the charter. The charter is a legal document, so it's better to have define things that we want you to do when we want you to do them, because in what the potential, what the, I guess, for lack of a term, consequences are. So it's harder for someone looking at this 10 years from now, because your charter is going to last for decades, ideally, to tease out the intent, and oftentimes things that are confusing either get ignored or abused over time. So that's just a sort of suggestion you think about how you put things in there. The nudges often lead to more confusion down the line.
Okay, that's good input. Thank you for that, actually. Yep.
So we can't decide, we'll let our successors in the future take care of it. Right?
Sounds good.
That's what Anthony said.
All right.
Politics is about.
So then based on that, it sounds like we're at least annually something,
Yeah.
because otherwise there'll be nothing.
All right, we'll
Like
have
the
to,
ones
we'll have
we
to go
really
back
care
over. But we
about.
got some good input for this.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, we'll figure out how we want to go with it. Okay. Library one we already talked about, so 6.2E. So here, this was a suggestion we got at the last meeting. Really good. So here we talk about the town manager recommends the select board appointment and removal of volunteer members of boards. We talked about adding, this was, some people thought, well, of course, this is how it would work, but not necessarily, but should we add wording that says, all applicants for open appointed positions should be forwarded to the select board along with the candidate or candidates being recommended by the town manager. So the select board would see everyone who applied, even though the town manager may be saying, this is on my recommendation, I think this should be the person, but the select board is still doing the appointment, and they should see all the people that have applied. Yeah. And again, maybe it would happen anyway, I don't know, but, and then that way the select board also gets, well, we're not getting them for this one, we'll put them over here on something else. I'm sure that, hopefully the town manager's doing the same thing, but,
Yeah.
so, any unease with that at all, or? No, okay?
So they see every candidate?
Yeah, like if 5 people say, I'll sign up for that position, and then the town manager looks at it and says, well, this is who I would recommend doing it, but the select board would see all the paperwork, would see all, or at least names of them, or whatever gets over.
The applications, basically.
Yeah, the applications. And then, but the town manager say, I recommend this one, and, presumably why, but, yeah.
Final choices with the select board.
What's that?
Final choices with the select board.
Yes, well, yeah, it is, anyway.
Mm-hmm.
They do that now.
Okay, we don't know that, but okay, that's good. I would hope they do. But again, Diane, some of this is just addressing people have this view that we have a town manager now, and somehow this person's, sitting back in this door with the door closed, and stuff comes in, and decisions are made, and they get shipped out. And this is just making sure people understand it's an open process. Okay, so maybe they're recommending this one, the select board still decides, but, or appoints, so we're making sure that the select board does see them all.
So the select board is still the final say on appointments
Appointments,
for all
yeah.
boards and committees?
But the town manager does make a recommendation.
Okay. But the application process is still the same?
We don't define what the process is.
So I'd say yes.
Yeah. We haven't made any.
You've
Okay,
got-
what is the
you've
process
got
today?
to
Tell us,
appoint it,
what is
you've
the
got a
process?
30-day, it's got to stand for 30 days. If there's a vacancy and elected, is there something similar on appointed?
So right now, we'll be starting in April to look at everybody whose appointment is up June 30, but the process is you would go on to the website and fill out an application for any board or committee that is going to have an opening. Anybody can apply for as many boards or committees, and those applications come into my office as well as into the TA's office. And when we get ready to present to the select board, all those applications get uploaded and the select board see every single application. We don't hold back anything, and if you apply for five boards and committees, then you have 5 boards and committees that you are applying for.
Okay, and conversely then, if there's just, it's not during the cycle where you're going through and re-upping everybody, but there's, there's always open positions, and somebody says to somebody, hey, I might put my name in for that one. It's still the same process, they do the application online?
Yeah, we still have many boards and committees that have openings.
Yeah, it may just be one person, it comes through, and there's an opening, and there's a person, and somebody says, yeah, great, go for it.
Yep.
Okay,
And
Okay.
then,
or not.
we just did somebody for LCTV and as well as sustainability, the last board, the select board.
Somebody, we should probably know these things, but is there any kind of interview process? Like somebody applies, but nobody knows who they are and so on. Is there an interview process or something, even if the?
So when I get an application, if it's for a specific board, I send that application off committee so that they can take a look at it.
Yeah.
If they're having a meeting ahead of time, they can take a look at it, have a conversation. Sometimes they'll invite the applicant in to have a conversation with them.
Okay.
Quite often, when Council on Aging would have several people applying, so they would be invited to come to a meeting. And quite often as well, the board or committee can make a recommendation to the select board that we've had a application or a couple of applications, and they may say, this person, we recommend this person, or we recommend that person. But they don't always have more than one applicant, but they do say that they've had a meeting with the person or whatever, but where it's supposed to get transmitted to the select board that they've had a meeting with them. But, yeah.
So
the boards and committees know.
Did you have some? I just wanted to ask, I think there's a 30-day window with regard to filling an elected, is that correct? By a joint committee, like you just played out with the planning?
So what happens is, if someone steps down from an elected position, the board whose position is vacated, they have 14 days to notify the select board that that position is open. And then we do 21 days on the board. But they have to make an appointment to have a joint meeting together.
Correct. So might we want to replicate that for the appointed process? I mean, I can think of a couple of positions that have transitioned in the last year that, while I will readily admit there was recognition that an appointed member would no longer serve, I don't know that there was simultaneous with that recognition a statement that, okay, if you, the public, have interest in filling this position, please submit your application by X.
So
It seemed informal to me, and I'm not I didn't come prepared to research this, but it seemed informal.
So if it is an appointed position, and I receive a letter of resignation, I let the TA's office know, AKA Lisa, and she will update the vacated notification. That gets uploaded to our website. So she'll update that, she'll send it to me, we'll stamp it, we'll get it uploaded onto the website. So it gets immediately uploaded, and then it gets posted on the bulletin board. So that's what we call a rolling vacated opening. So because it's like mid-year or whatever.
Yeah, I think what I'm feeling like it's somewhat informal, almost insider, if you will. I'm not trying to be nefarious and accusatory by that statement. I'm just saying that's how it's felt. I feel like it might be appropriate to have some establishment of when a appointed position is vacated, here's the process. And that doesn't need to be in charter by any means.
But Jim will makes that notification every single select board. Here are all of our vacated.
Okay. Okay.
Every single week.
Maybe it was there enough.
This is all good, this is
Enough.
what's happening now. We're looking to the future. If we're going to give the town manager, a strong town manager, the ability to appoint people or to recommend the appointment to the select board, then why are we handcuffing him by going behind him and saying, well, even though you recommend Joe, here's those other people, you're going to take a look at those. That's what you're proposing, is that whatever the town manager says, I recommend these guys, but I still gotta show you select board, all the other people that applied that I didn't want to recommend. Why are we doing that?
Because the select board still has the appointment authority.
Yes, but we said the town manager had the authority to recommend this person or that person.
I don't
Well,
think
take
it's,
his word for it. I
think
mean,
it
if
is
you give him the authority to do it, then go handcuff him.
But then the select board is just a rubber stamp. What's the point of that?
You can always say no to it.
I think it gives
Yeah, okay.
transparency,
Sure.
so when I.
Then why don't we just send it to the select board to start with?
Well,
So-
because he can vet, because then you've still got the process where people talk to him and had interviews and said, I recommend this person and this is why. They've done that for the select board. And because the town manager's involved with these, the boards and committees and what they need and do more. I mean,
Karen,
that's the idea. I don't know.
Right now, there's 3 people that made appointments for a certain board. Are you giving all 3, or does the town administrator right now review those first, bring them to you and say, this is my recommendation, but these are the other candidates?
No, we see them all.
So I think that's,
Well, and I was just gonna say that, anytime you have a high-level person in an organization coming to you with a recommendation, the proper question is, what else have you considered and why didn't you go with that? So I just view this as sort of short circuit, just answering that without making everybody go through that back and forth.
Yeah, I mean, I think as a hiring manager in my other life, when someone brings to me the finalists and maybe the 1 or 2 finalists, I appreciate and often am very interested, and it's informative to understand what the full candidate pool is. So whether I don't want to comb through 400 resumes, but I do want to have the ability to understand that candidate pool. For me, it makes a lot of sense to have the transparency and the visibility into the entire candidate pool, but have the operational efficiency of having a town manager having already done a pre-selection and a recommendation, because then you have both transparency and efficiency.
Yeah, you
That's
said
right.
what I was going to say as well. I entrust the people that report to me when they open positions. I can see everyone who applies. I can look at them, but I trust them to make the right decision. I still have to approve it. I generally do, but I like having the data there so I can ask those questions and say, well, why not this guy?
Exactly.
So I think it just provides transparency from my perspective. I don't think it's a way to circumvent the town manager. and it sounds like it's already happening.
I think it's also nice for the applicant process to know that as someone who is, let's say, again, using these random sort of anecdotes, but let's say I know I have a personal beef with the town manager, right? But I want to apply for this particular board. I then have some faith in the process that if I apply and I'm not selected, it wasn't, through any of those kinds of personal issues or what have you. It was a robust selection process, and I know that my application is still put before the select board. I think that optics of it also is important, to know that you are being seen. I do think, again, I think, Rob, you said it, not all of the rest of it needs to be in the charter, but sitting on another committee as well, I think the role that the committees have and that that procedure that is followed needs to be clarified somewhere else. And if it's clarified somewhere else, I think it makes the charter also a little cleaner and easier to interpret.
Well, that's interesting, because the other part of this is, I didn't have it here, but in 6.2D, talks that the town manager, for department head supporting elected or appointed body, the town manager shall consult with the respective elected board, commission, or committee prior to such appointment or recommendation. I should say a recommendation here, not appointment. And, is consult with strong enough? I mean, I like this example of Council on Aging. They went through and they said, this is the one we recommend. So, I mean, you would hope that would just flow through then, like the town manager would just take that and give it to the select board. You would hope. But all we say now is that the town manager shall consult with the respective elected board or commission prior to the appointment. We do have something from the Collins Center, and we looked at other charters. There are things that, again, go into a lot more specifics in terms of, sometimes they have to have, well, that's more for hiring, I guess, but for joint interviews and things like that.
So the town manager consults with that board and for what recommendations, but is the town manager still making the recommendation back to the select board? Even, the select board can still see who the other applicants are. If that's the case, I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that it goes to the town manager and he can make a recommendation whether they go with it or not.
Mm-hmm. And I have a question. Is there a difference between boards and commissions and committees? I mean, it seems like in the boards and commissions, maybe there's a sort of more formalized process. This is just known and accepted, but then we have a lot of sort of subcommittees and subcommittees where it seems a lot more informal. And so I don't know if that is an intentional distinction that we want to make, and if it's even relevant for here, because it's,
Some of them are appointed, they were formed by the select board, and some of them are through the mass general, directly through the mass general.
Some of the boards. But committees don't tend to be mass general law, right?
No, the committees to me seem like the working.
That's more of a
sort
select board created.
I don't think a committee can break anything. Where a
I don't think
board
you-
can.
I don't think you can make that finance
take
committee,
that
for example.
challenge.
Well,
Okay, that's true.
Finance
Committee,
committee, that's true.
That's right, finance committee. Okay,
So like agricultural commission
yeah,
is
yeah, right.
mass general law.
I mean, but for instance, take sustainability. That's what I'm familiar with. So you have a vacancy, people apply for that vacancy.
Yep.
The select board reviews those candidates and appropriately appoints, but is there because there's no interview process from the committee side, is that just up to the committee to decide, like, do we want to do that, do we not want to do that? Is it that part of it, I think, is not clear. And again, I don't think that level of detail belongs in the charter, but once we start articulating these higher level pieces, then it sort of cascades down to those further questions, right? Like, should there be a policy, for instance, in place that says this is the expectation of a sitting committee, commission, board, or whatever, of your level of participation in that process? should you or should you not be vetting these
So
candidates?
it's a good point, though. So just, I mean, Diane, just how, I mean, today, so you brought up the example of Council on Aging. So here's people, and so the council kind of decides who they recommend. But if the same happened with sustainability, what would the process be?
I automatically send them to all the boards and committees. It's up to them to,
Whether they want to get together and say this is who we recommend, or whether they just say whatever, let us know.
yeah, and they just say thank you or whatever.
Okay?
Yeah, but as a backup, our policy is to have Lisa checks with the chair and says, did you see this? Because they're about ready to appoint.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
Yeah,
All right, that's good to know. That's there.
it's a balance.
Okay, yeah, it is. I know, 'cause you don't
wanna-
wanna overregulate
become
everything.
a country club, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
Yep.
you're
Yeah.
weighing things.
Okay.
Yeah, the input is sought.
Okay, great. That's obviously what we want. All right, where are we? Getting close.
I think it's 7-1.
7-1. Okay, so this is another thing that came up a couple of places, Karen being one. The town moderator currently appoints somebody to FinCom, but it's just done. It's just done. It's not public record anywhere. So we talked about adding wording in 7-1 that says the town moderator appointment to the FinCom must be done publicly at either select board or FinCom meeting. So at least it's in somebody's minutes that this has been done.
Yeah.
Okay. Seemed like a kind of an easy one to add, but wanted to make sure. Okay, 9.2 we talked about because that was the corollary to the one where we talked about adding the wording on the warrants and that people can, town agencies, we weren't going to use that word now, boards, commissions can put a warrant on, so that's what that is. I don't know if we want to start going down the general provisions, honestly, tonight. I think we're going to save that for another time, because that's a bigger nugget. I don't know if any of these are less that they're here. The recall, I just want to, we're not going to, I don't want to get into the details on this one, but we looked at this, and again, there was a special act that was passed in 2006 that says 25% of registered voters to do a recall. I just went and looked, this amazed me, Diane, there's 7,800 registered voters in Littleton. What's the population, like?
10,000.
That's amazing, 7,800 registered voters. So kids don't count in the population, or they do? Or they just aren't that?
Kids do.
So then everybody, I know, but I was just trying to figure this
How is
out.
there not that
Every
many?
adult in town is registered voter? I mean, that's pretty impressive if it's
All
true.
that about, I want to say we have 13 adults that are considered inactive, and then you have, so it's 17 and under.
Yeah.
They're not considered adults, but
Yeah, I thought it was impressive, 7,800 registered, but we have 7,800 registered voters. So to get to 25% of that,
I'd love to see that, yeah.
it's
Demographic
like
profile of
almost
Littleton.
2,000 people.
That are working.
You almost have to get almost 2,000 signatures to do a recall.
I mean, I think the fact that we've talked about that number in jest multiple times suggests that perhaps it's too high.
It is too high.
Most towns are 10 to 20%. Which even that's, I mean, and you want it to be a high bar. I mean, you don't want this to be easy.
Sure.
But 25% seems a little bit. So I just wanted to point those numbers out. We have talked about it before, and this will be a good conversation if we have time with the select board too to talk about this maybe. Yeah, anyway. All right. And again, we'll talk about, I don't want to get into details on that one now, because I think we've got, it's going to be an interesting meeting with the select board to be playing along as it is, I think. All right. Anything else anybody wants to talk about? Anything from people in our audience tonight? Anything else you want to add to our conversation? Frame anything? No? You ready for us for a couple of weeks? And you're coming here, right?
So you said earlier that we're meeting with the select board next week.
No, it's not. It's our
Okay.
next meeting.
Thank you.
I probably did say next week, but it's our
Thank you.
next meeting. It's the 30th.
Thank you. Got it.
With that in
Okay.
It's our regular meeting, 6 o'clock. Yeah.
Regular,
You're coming to
2
our
weeks from
meeting.
today. Same time, same
nice.
place?
I get nervous too when she said next week,
Yeah.
because I won't be around.
Yeah. Okay.
In that case,
So-
I have a motion.
Okay, no, wait, hang on, real quick. I know, real quick. So what I'm gonna do is, this email that I just did, I'm gonna attempt to update it for kind of just so I can send that along with because we had the draft document, the document we sent before, along with Charlotte's documents, which is kind of there, and then this is our latest thinking, or How fast will minutes be out? Minutes are so amazing. We could probably just use that. Not to put, I don't know how much work it is when you get AI, what you have else you got going.
As long as Lisa can get the transcript over, I think that's the, she's obviously got a lot, and it's an ask for her to turn it around more quickly, but as long as I have the transcript, it doesn't take very long, like 30 minutes for me to validate it, basically. But sorry, so when do you want them by? That's easier to...
Well, if they're posted minutes, they still have to be in your packet. Public information. Yeah,
I don't
it's
think I
nice
can
if they
get-
are
It's a
not.
nicety. Yeah.
Okay. So
I don't think I can, probably can't get the minutes tomorrow, because I
Okay, but
won't
if you
have
could
the
get them this
LCTV
week, 'cause that would be
transcript won't
better.
be up, but...
Because you probably, yeah, okay, so I'll just wait till you get those. I think I'm gonna not do this and send that, I'm not gonna try to update this myself. I may do it for my own records, but I'm gonna wait until your minutes come out, and I'm not gonna send that. I will send the, I'll send the charter document again, which you already have, but I'll send that to Lisa along with this summary documents that we talked about in the beginning. And that will be what we're sending,
Wednesday noon.
Wednesday noon, yeah. Okay, great,
And you could call Lisa if you needed more time and ask her if that'll work for her.
okay, all right.
That's the deadline she gives us.
Now you- Okay. Don't let that get public. Don't put that in the minutes. Okay.
Betsy, the next meeting, can we just clarify the calendar for the next few months? Because we have some, I don't have to do it now, but I just wanted to make sure.
Yep, the meetings I have are 3:30. The next one is 2 weeks from tonight, Select Board here. And then we have meetings scheduled on April 13th and April 27th. We have some in May too. Do you want to know what they are?
Yeah, because we have one, I think, I have one on the calendar the day before the town meeting.
Probably.
Okay.
And then whether it happens or not, we'll see where we are at that point.
About
what
13th,
else is going on.
27th, and then May 4th, potentially.
Mhm.
Okay. May 27th, okay.
What were the April dates again?
13 and 27.
Thank you.
And I mean, I can see that, at some point, we're gonna get to the point where, we don't have to meet every 2 weeks. I mean, we're getting there.
We are getting
It's a lovely thought.
Well, it'll probably nicely coincide with the summer, because I think we had a slightly
Yeah,
slower
nice.
schedule in the summer anyway, didn't we, to account for
Anthony, you got anything else for us?
travel?
Any other words of wisdom? No?
I don't have anything.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for joining tonight, too. I appreciate it. Okay. You were saying?
Move to adjourn.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All of a sudden, they get quiet on me. Oh, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Good night. Thank you, everybody.